Well, we're now 10 game weeks into the Premier League, so we're really starting to see the league table shape up. We're starting to see the Fantasy Premier League table shape up as well and everything like that. So, really, really interesting to see where things go. And this obviously gives us the opportunity to reflect, see where how we're doing, reflect on matches, everything like that. Just to let you know, guys, we also, like I say, do. I think I've mentioned before, we do reactions, live reactions to the 3 p.m. kickoffs on a Saturday. As part of a live stream every Saturday. This is going to have a little twist. We're going to be starting our fantasy football manager challenge with Nukatel Zamax we were speaking about last week. So we'll be doing football manager as the main focus on the Saturday, with the background of doing the 3 p.m. matches and carrying on and everything like that. So we'll start to enjoy the football manager now that it's properly out and going through in there. But we'll discuss that a little bit later. We'll also mention about the football matches now. So let's start off with what happened on the Saturday. It was kind of crazy, and for some reason it's decided not to share it, which is absolutely wonderful. That is much better. We'll probably have the same issues when we get to the corner screen as well. So we had on the Saturday some interesting matches. Brighton Hove Albion beating Leeds United 3-0. I think we're starting to see Leeds United almost become the first promoted team that's starting to drop off again. Could be interesting in terms of Leeds players for the future, but it's starting to look like that initial shine for Leeds is now going away, and Brighton did absolutely amazing. They I think it was goals from Welbeck. Arsenal beating Burnley, kind of expected given the fact that it obviously was Arsenal playing. I think that's more of a positive for Arsenal than a negative for Burnley. So, still looking good for Burnley. Crystal Palace beating Brentford, fantastic. His side didn't get any of those goals, but it was still good nonetheless for Crystal Palace. Fulham beating Wolverhampton Wanderers. Again, starting to show that Wolverhampton Wanderers are dropping off a cliff. Vitor Pereira, the Wolves manager, has been let go. At time of recording, there hasn't been anyone that seems to be taking their job. Gary O'Neill was initially touted, said no. As of recording, they approached Rob Edwards, and it seems like Middlesbrough has said no. So Wolves are right now in a sinking ship without a captain. Little bit concerning for Wolves. I think we're starting to see almost sort of similar levels to the end of Mick McCarthy at Wolverhampton Wanderers with, was it Terence Connor, I think his name was? It's just embarrassing time, and I think we're starting to see that again for Wolves. Nottingham Forest versus Manchester United. I mean, Manchester United dropped points, which, I mean, as a Liverpool fan, I'm also always going to be happy about that. But I think this is more of, I think Man United should still be, fairly proud of themselves, because this was more on Sean Dyche and Nottingham Forest. Looks like he's stemmed the tide, so really positive to see. That said, we had a similar sort of thing that happened, was it Nottingham Forest against Burnley when Ange Postecoglou was in charge, so still hold off a little bit, but it's starting to look like Sean Dyche is stemming the flow, let's say, when it comes to that. And we had Tottenham Hotspur versus Chelsea. Sort of a bit of a surprise. Chelsea winning this game because Tottenham Hotspur were flying. I think it's just the way things were, and it felt like it was more of it was a good thing for Chelsea rather than a bad thing for Tottenham. That's the way I see it. Still looking good, and we'll look at the midweek games. I'm sure that might add things as well. And Liverpool beating Aston Villa. There's going to be queries around Liverpool that I'm going to be trying to answer as best as I can. We will go from there. Then we moved into I hate it when it does this. Sunday, where we had West Ham beating Newcastle United. West Ham did amazingly well. Now, this could be a similar sort of feeling to when they beat Nottingham Forest, where it was just a one-off, but it could also be steering the ship. So, interesting thing for West Ham, could be a good thing. And we will see when it comes to their next fixture to see how that is. Manchester City beating Bournemouth as well. Really good for Manchester City. Bournemouth are a tricky opponent, so the fact that Manchester City got that, really good for them. And then on Monday, we had Sunderland versus Everton. I'd say this is a Sunderland win. And I was kind of surprised. But Sunderland getting a draw, a respectable draw under the lights against Everton, but also respect to Everton as well. Not too bad in terms of how that was. So where did that leave us? Where did that leave us? Well, it leaves me with a screen that again hasn't shared for some strange reason. It was sharing before, now it's not. There we go. So this was how it left the points. I got 42 points. Again, not a great week for me. Especially as I took out Xhaka a couple of weeks ago, and that's obviously paid off great. João Pedro was on the bench as well. Of course he was. Still got some decent points. Gabriel and Caicedo are doing wonders for me. Ismail Sarr did get 6 points. I think did that mean he got assists? I think no, clean sheet was the reason why. But yeah, not too bad. Only a couple of players that getting points, but the amount of points they got at least sort of salvaged the week. It wasn't great though, in terms of that. So, did we have midweek fixtures? Of course we did. This is English football. Of course we decide to ram football down everyone's throats for the next, every day of our lives. So we started off with the Tuesday. Now, in terms of the Champions League, there were a couple of English teams that were playing. Arsenal beating Slavia Prague, team in Czechoslovakia. No, Czech Republic. I almost got that wrong. I think it's Czech Republic, isn't it? But Arsenal beating Slavia Prague. They're a decent team. So Arsenal getting 3-0 away. That is actually a really good result. Normally, Eastern European teams, when they are playing at their home, are a nightmare to play against. We might be talking about that later on. So really good for Arsenal. We also had Tottenham Hotspur beating Copenhagen 4-0, including an incredible goal by Mickey van der Ven, which is wow. But then the other one, Liverpool beating Real Madrid. Now, if you're new to the football world and you're probably wondering why I'm making such a big deal about that, Real Madrid, they are the kings of European football. To give you an idea, so the team that's won the European Cup the second most amount of times, I'm pretty sure, is AC Milan with 8. Might be 7 or 8. Real Madrid have won it 15 times. Or 14. One of the two. Way ahead of everyone else. And, really impressive stuff. So, to have Liverpool beat Real Madrid, and actually, if you watch the game, they schooled them. It could have been 2 or 3-0 if it weren't for the goalie. Really, really interesting stuff. And we'll talk about Liverpool when we start looking ahead to the next fixtures. Then we went to Wednesday, and the matches that were played: Newcastle United beating Athletic Club Bilbao. They are a brilliant team, Athletic Bilbao. They know how to win matches. They have a rich heritage and a rich history. So for them, for Newcastle to get a win, really, really good for Newcastle United. Manchester City as well getting a win over Borussia Dortmund. Again, really solid performance, really good performance from Manchester City getting the 4-1 win. However, Chelsea drew against Karabakh. I think I'm saying that right. Now, Karabakh are a team in Azerbaijan, a team that don't really have any heritage. I I think this might be their first year in the Champions League in the European, the big European competitions. They've been in European competitions before, but they've been in like the step below. Little bit concerning for Chelsea. Their defence was very ropey, very concerning. But it might be a similar sort of situation to Liverpool last week when they were playing against Crystal Palace. In the Chelsea did field some youngsters in defence, and maybe that had something to do with it. But it is something that is concerning. And we are recording this on a Thursday, so we've got some matches that are going on right now. Nottingham Forest did play a 0-0 against Sturm Graz, which is a team in Austria. Not too bad for Nottingham Forest, but you'd expect a little bit more. There was a missed penalty in there as well from not Morgan Rogers. I can't remember the Forest player, but anyway. And right now we have other English teams that are playing. Aston Villa are playing against Maccabi Tel Aviv. Literally 3 minutes gone, so it's 0-0 there. Nothing too much to write home about. And in the Conference League, we have Crystal Palace playing against AZ Alkmaar. AZ Alkmaar. Now, the interesting thing is, and this is the weird way in which everything is laid out, I would count AZ Alkmaar to be more competitive than Maccabi Tel Aviv. So Crystal Palace, despite being in the lesser competition, have got a bigger challenge. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that does. Obviously, that will have an impact as well on players and the energy and everything like that for the weekend's fixtures. So should we look ahead? Should we now start to look ahead to next week's fixtures, see where we go? So let's have a look at the fixtures coming up. So we start off with a 12:30 kickoff on the Saturday, and Spurs are playing Manchester United. Interesting. Tottenham Hotspur it's a stuttering run. They've had some good results, but it's stuttered a bit. Obviously, brilliant during the week. And Manchester United are on a solid run. Now, I would love to say this is going to be an easy Spurs win. And if we were basing it off last year, you would be very well understandable to go for that, given the fact that Spurs have beat Man United 4 times last season. I'm going to put this down to another draw, though. I think there's goals in Spurs, and I think it could be a surprise from a defender. I don't know why Brennan Johnson's springing to mind, because he likes to score against Manchester United. But I'm going to put this down to a score draw. 1-1, 2-2, it's going to be something like that. But this is almost like the tester for Manchester United as much as Tottenham Hotspur, because now they've had a little stutter. Do they pick it back up again, or is this going to end up dropping off again? Then we come to Everton versus Fulham. Interesting tie. Fulham obviously beating Wolverhampton Wanderers, but it's starting to look like Wolverhampton Wanderers, you just are going to beat them, almost like Southampton were last season. Everton doing okay, and this is at their ground. This is at the Hill Dickinson Arena. This is at Everton themselves. It's going to be tight. I'm going to give it to Everton, I would say. They're definitely going to get the majority of the chances. The only problem for Everton is that their striker can't score goals. So it's going to be low scoring, I feel. I feel like there's going to be a clean sheet for one of these teams. I can't work out which, so if you want to put defenders or goalkeepers, you could probably give it a go for either of them. I'm going to give it to Everton like a 1-0. Just a 1-0, like sort of like 75th minute, something like that. And probably give it to someone like... trying to think who to give it to. Who's the winger that they've got that's... What? Let me have a look, see if I can figure out the player. I think he was at Sheffield United a couple of years ago. Players. Ndiaye. Iliman Ndiaye. I feel like there might be a goal for Iliman Ndiaye, potentially. I won't be picking Everton players because I have that loyalty to Liverpool. I put a clause on myself. It always, every year, a little bit of a penalty because I want to view myself as a true Liverpool fan and not put any Everton or Manchester United players in. But that's doesn't matter. West Ham versus Burnley. This is West Ham's chance. If they want to show themselves to be a serious outfit to start getting the wins, this is where they need to move forward. Now, the interesting thing is Burnley, West Ham's way of playing is going to be defensive and giving teams the ball. What's Burnley's way of playing? Being defensive, giving other teams the ball. This is going to be a very weird match. I think it's going to be a tight match because of that way of playing, but I do think West Ham are going to win it. I do think they've got the chance. This is going to be their opportunity to restart their season. Full stop. For Sunderland, in the 5:30 game, it's just going to get more difficult for them. Yes, they're playing at Stadium of Light, but they're playing against Arsenal. And even though it's been incredible to see Sunderland doing this well, it's hard to see anything other than an Arsenal win. That's more on Arsenal than it is on Sunderland. But there could be a chance. I mean, I if we were basing this on Sunderland's attack, I could see Sunderland scoring a goal. If we're basing this on Arsenal's defence, you can't see the other team scoring a goal. If you wanted to be cheeky, you could put a Sunderland player, striker in there, but otherwise, stay away. If they do provide a surprise, then that's going to spice up the Premier League, given Arsenal's 7-point advantage over everyone at the moment. But it feels like Arsenal are going to press on. Then we come to Chelsea versus Wolves. So the team that drew to Karabakh, yes, they beat Tottenham Hotspur, but they also lost to Sunderland, playing against Wolves. I still only see a Chelsea win. I feel like it's going to be a scoring on both sides. I feel like something like a 3-1 maybe for Chelsea, but putting Chelsea players in is definitely going to work out for you, I feel. Watch that flop. But under the lights at Stamford Bridge in Chelsea, it feels like it is going to be the case. Then we have a bumper Sunday. We've got 5 matches being played on the Sunday. 4 of them being played at exactly the same time. It almost feels like the Sunday games are becoming the new Saturday 3 p.m. games. I don't know how I feel about that, but that's another match altogether. Aston Villa playing against Bournemouth. We'll obviously see how Aston Villa do against Maccabi Tel Aviv tonight. And Bournemouth, look, yes, they lost to Manchester City, but that's more on Manchester City than it is on Bournemouth. So I think Bournemouth will be a bit more solid, and I feel like Bournemouth are a bit more woken up. I don't know what's going on with Villa right now. I can't work out whether they are on form or not. And based on those sort of feelings where I can't work out Aston Villa, but I can work out Bournemouth, and they are doing well, I'm going to give it to Bournemouth. I'm going to go for like a sort of 1-0. I think a 1-0 to Bournemouth. I just get that feeling. Brentford versus Newcastle next. Both of them have been on good form, and both of them have also lost last weekend. How do you predict that? I have no idea, but I'm going to give it to Brentford for the home advantage. I think Brentford are incredible at home, and I just get the feeling that Quiver Keller might even get a clean sheet. He has this almost this feel about him that every now and again he just ends up being lightning, and I trust him for this. So I think that Brentford versus Newcastle is going to be a Brentford win and a Brentford clean sheet. Then we come to Crystal Palace versus Brighton. Somehow is a rivalry. Maybe at some point in the future we'll look into the history as to why it's a rivalry, but a team in London versus a team on the south coast somehow is a rivalry. Let's just say it. We're just saying it's a rivalry, that's it, right? Crystal Palace at home. The fans are going to be up for it if it's a rivalry. But Brighton have been performing well. I think it's going to be a 1-1. I think there's going to be a goal for each. I think Mateta will get a goal. He might even score the winner. I don't know, but I'm going to go for a 1-1. But I think it's going to be a ding-dong match. I get the feeling, right, that it's going to be basically a draw. And however many Mateta scores, that's how many Danny Welbeck's going to score. I feel like both of them are going to be absolutely on song and on form. So maybe picking them. We come to Nottingham Forest versus Leeds. Nottingham Forest has stemmed the tide. Leeds seems to be a little bit in free fall. This feels like it's going to be an easy win for Nottingham Forest and maybe sort of like a 1-0, 2-0. I feel like a clean sheet is also on the cards. So that is a chance. And then we come to the big one. This, over the past few years, used to be an like bumper. And right at the end of the weekend, we're going to have Manchester City versus Liverpool. So the big question that everyone seems to be talking about in the football world, that after Liverpool beating Aston Villa last week, after Liverpool beating Real Madrid on Tuesday, are they back? I think it's going to be. I don't think Liverpool are going to lose this. I don't know why. I don't get the feel. I feel like it's going to be a draw or a tight Liverpool win. That is with some bias, of course. But I want to sort of, even if it's a win or a loss, right? I want to address something because we were talking about this last week, and I said that it was, the problem was on like the style that Salah was playing wouldn't fit the team, everything like that. So it was hard to expecting on a slot to replace Salah in last week's game against Aston Villa, and obviously the game on Tuesday. So imagine my surprise when I see him replace Gakpo. Like, taking out Kirkers and Frimpong made sense, and having Conor Bradley, Andy Robertson, I agreed with big time. But taking out Gakpo, I was like, okay, I'm going to trust you. And it seems to have worked. It seems to have found the right position for Florian Wirtz and seems to be doing okay. Now, how that fits against Manchester City's formation, I have no idea, but it's going to be tricky. And I feel like, but I feel like the sort of mentality has shifted again at Liverpool. It's sort of, we're going to prove everyone wrong. And so I feel like that feistiness and that fight means that there is going to be at least a goal from Liverpool. I'm going to put it as a 2-1 Liverpool, maybe a 3-2. It is, but right now it feels like it's like, a couple of players from Man City playing against Liverpool. But then again, Foden's been doing well, Cherky's been doing well, Haaland's been doing well. So this is gonna. I feel like it's gonna be a really fascinating game. If this ends up 6-5 might be pushing this, but if this ends up being a 5-4 or a 4-3, I wouldn't be surprised. But I am just about going to give it to Liverpool. Just. But if it is a draw, I wouldn't be surprised. It's just going to be one of those tight matches. I feel like it's going to be, when I say a tight win, it is going to be won by one goal. And we'll see what happens from there. So those are the matches ahead we're going to be looking forward to. So how's this going to affect our team? So right now we have these players in our team. We've got Spurs players, we've got Chelsea players, we've got Liverpool players. Yeah, we've got them all. Right, okay, so here's the thing. Who are the players that we are definitely keeping? We are definitely keeping our two goalkeepers. I still trust them. We are definitely keeping our Arsenal players. I still trust them, of course. I'd say keep the Chelsea players as well. I'm fine with that. The Sunderland players, Ronaldo is probably my player where I'm like, you're almost like on my transfer list. Like, I'm keeping an eye on things. And actually, I'm looking at it and I'm going, not too bad, potentially. So, what do I do? What do I do? Let's remind ourselves of the matches and what we could see. Nottingham Forest seems to be jumping out at me because we've already got the three Chelsea players. So what are Nottingham Forest's next fixtures? Let's see if we can find out. Let's move to this one. So let's see. So next few matches, I mean, it is Leeds and then Liverpool and then Brighton. I think we are looking at quite a few. Do you know what? It's not too bad. Could be the chance to start looking at a Forest player. It's tricky. It's definitely tricky. Look, West Ham is tricky for them as well. Spurs starting to get tricky. But I'm still fairly confident because I mean we've got the hold on, things are just that's the wrong one. Full profile, that's the wrong one. Spurs potentially. Arsenal, Fulham, Newcastle, Brentford could be challenging, but I think for the future, still okay. I'm gonna take out. I think I'm gonna take out VS. I think. Do you know what? It's a really difficult one. It is a really difficult one. It's all very, very, very tight. Let's see where we are next week afterwards. So these are the matches we got next week. I'm literally just doing a little scan through. I'm not going to do anything too major on it. Keep going, actually. Right, I know what I'm going to do. So this sounds very, very strange, but here's the thing. I've just looked at Aston Villa. I've got Bournemouth, where I said it was going to be tight. Afterwards, they've got Leeds, and then they've got Wolves. They do have Brighton afterwards, and then Arsenal. So they got a steady run of fixtures where you wouldn't be too much of a surprise to see players do well. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a look at our Aston Villa players, see who's available, see who we would pick. So let's have a little look. So I wouldn't touch the goalkeepers. Matty Cash has been doing well, so is Luca Digne, the two wing backs. Got Morgan Rogers, and then we've got Ollie Watkins. So what I'm going to do, I think we're going to put Matty Cash in. Potentially. I didn't realise they're actually on quite a good winning streak. Yeah, I am going to take out Ronaldo, put in Matty Cash. I don't know why. That just seems to be the one that's jumping out at me. That's the one I'm going to make. So, in terms of the actual team itself, firstly, Pedro Porro is going in. I'm going to put him in ahead of Ismail Assar. Probably even Matty Cash ahead of that as well. This is more down to how Wolves are. I'm going to keep it. I feel like you're more likely to get surprise bonus points from Isidore than Matty Cash. I feel like Matty Cash could be more steady, and Matt Sells, I think I'm going to put in there. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to have. I don't think Gabriel's going to get any goals, so I'm going to put. Do I put Saka as captain or João Pedro? I'm going to put João Pedro as captain, and again, it's just based on the opponent rather than anything else. going to do that as our team. So we're going to have Matt Sells playing in goal against Leeds. So we're hoping for an Nottingham Forest clean sheets. We're going to be having both Aston Villa and Bournemouth represented in defenders. So hoping for some crosses, good scoring match maybe potentially. We've obviously got the Arsenal players, Gabriel Saka, we've got Pedro Porro and Kudus, we've got Caicedo and João Pedro, we've got Wirtz and Bowen. And with those substitutions, I think that's actually a solid team. It's got a little bit of risk in there, and this is sort of, we're starting to see Wirtz show a bit more class. So I'm going to keep with him. Do you know what? Wirtz right now is like a drug addiction for me. One more week. Just one more week. And then we'll let him go. Then one more week and we'll let him go. So I think I'm just going to be keeping him. That's going to be my team. Let me know where I'm going wrong. Let me know what I'm doing right. Let me know your picks. And until Saturday, where we will be doing the Football Manager stream, we will be doing the 3 p.m. Reactions. Take care of yourselves and best of luck.